This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trend in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon to some of you. I am doing kind of a different show today. I'm not speaking specifically to healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am giving you what I consider my wisdom about what's going on in the United States. And what the title of the show was, What We Stand to Lose Under Socialism. I don't know how many people actually, since they got out of high school or college or whatever, have continued to discover and learn what socialism and communism really are and the difference between them. But today I'm going to only speak about socialism because, as you know, in New York City, a new Muslim mayor, I say Muslim because he was very adamant about saying that when he was elected. He's a Muslim and he calls himself a democratic socialist, which I don't think there is any such thing in my opinion. You're either a socialist or a communist or a patriotic person from the United States. I'm going to try to simplify these things. And remember, they're my opinion, not necessarily that of the radio station or anybody else. They're my opinion. And you could agree or disagree with me, and you can send your comments to info@judithmancinitoday.com. That's a new website, an email. We'll try it out. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm changing everything around for my show, trying to refresh it and do new things, and including the new newsletter that will be coming out shortly that is connected to the podcast. So I was watching the news today to see what was new. There was another plane crash, two of them over the last few days. That one is absolutely horrific, how it exploded. I want to see the maintenance files on that one. The engine fell off as it was on fire. They can't even discover if they've found all the bodies because everything is so burned up. It's just tragic. And they've even found one little child. And I can only think that the child wasn't on the airplane because this was a business federal UPS cargo plane. You don't have kids on those things, but it apparently ran through several small businesses. And I can only imagine that this child was with their mother in one of these small businesses or getting in or out of a car or something. It's so tragic. Things that are going on in our country with these horrible explosions and all. People are trying to bomb ICE headquarters. They're trying to bomb police stations. It's frightening. But here we are. We have the election. And I have to tell you that it's hard to even think about everything that's been going on lately. It's The world seems to be full of hate, except these countries where President Trump has sought peace and ended wars, and they're all thrilled with the United States and President Trump. And then we have this faction in the United States that absolutely hate President Trump, call him all sorts of horrible names, like Nancy Pelosi calling him vile. I mean, this is just disgusting to me. And yes, they've even taken him to court. He's won everything, or they've been dismissed. I've never seen anything like it in my life, in our country or any other. Now, mostly when somebody wants to take over a country, they have a coup going on, a military coup or something like that, where they actually throw the person out of office. Is this going to be next? Please, dear God, forbid this. I just don't trust anybody anymore. I have a lot of friends that are Democrats, and many of them don't even want to discuss what's going on or say they're changing parties, becoming an independent, becoming a Republican, doing who knows what. And then there are those who, even when they're not asked a question about what they think about the current administration and President Trump or what's going on, they just start spewing horrible things out of their mouth about President Trump and the administration. Now, you're going to have to pardon me again, because I've tried everything to silence my phone and have it connected to my computer, and I can't. I've tried my phone, my new phone. It's a iPhone 16, and I can't get it off being connected to the computer. I've also looked at all the settings in my computer. So when you hear the ding, I'm going to try to cancel it out just as soon as possible. I'm truly sorry about that. That's another thing I'm trying to fix as we move along. The funny thing is, Juan and I, my wonderful engineer, Juan and I spent last week a long time trying to fix my phone and all of this. And it's stubborn. The phone is stubborn. And don't tell me that phones don't have a life, because look at AI. I don't have anything connected in my house that is a robot. So I don't know what the heck is going on. All right. So Nancy Pelosi announced today that she would not be running for re-election in the midterms. I think that's a good idea. She's 85 years old. I think maybe that should be a cutoff age for people running for Congress and all. We've had them run way up into their 90s, maybe even 100. Maybe I've missed somebody like that. In the airlines and in some other big corporations and all, people have a mandatory or a suggested time to retire. And I understand if you love your business and you own your business, maybe you have to continue to work, or maybe you want to sell it. But I do agree with her. It is time for her to retire. She's been the leader of the Democrat Party for many, many years now. It wasn't Joe Biden. Come on, give me a break. He couldn't even figure out where to go outside the Oval Office. So I agree with her. She should retire. Now, I want to say one thing. She is the first woman Speaker of the House. She was one of the first people to enter Congress way back when. She's been in for over 40 years, and she's contributed a lot to our political process and our legislation. You might not have agreed with it. I probably didn't agree with most of it. I don't think going to San Francisco like we did for a wedding about, 20 years ago, it was not the San Francisco I remembered. And I lived on the peninsula a couple of times, and we'd go into San Francisco, and it was a beautiful, beautiful city. but she didn't take care of it. And that really should have been her primary her primary job, taking care of her district. They got her elected. They campaigned for her, and it's a disgusting, frightening area. She has big gates on it and everything else. Now, how can everybody else live like that with security and all? So I have the good thing to say that she broke some glass ceilings for women, and she was somebody for young women to look up to. She was some woman that some young women didn't look up to, depending on your political party, but she did contribute something. And so I'm going to say I didn't agree with anything she's done since President Trump became president in his first term and when he was running for office. She started mouthing off, is all I can say. She could have stopped January 6th if she had called in the National Guard to begin with. And there was even a video of her talking on the phone saying, no, I wanted to go. I wanted to go on. Do not call in the National Guard. So I'm not a fan of hers, but I have to hand it to her. She still walks in her high heels of 3 to 4 or 5 inches. So go, Granny, go and enjoy your retirement. I don't think she should have called President Trump a vile person. And he came back and called her many things. So I don't think she was much help to the United States. That's it on Nancy. There's several people retiring from the Senate and Congress upcoming, or have mentioned that they're thinking about it. So we'll have to watch this very closely. So you do know that the New York City election did elect Mondami, and he calls himself a democratic socialist, but he's a socialist, and he said that I'm a Muslim and I'm a democratic socialist, and that's how he introduced himself when he won. Now, let me ask you a question. There are a lot of things that I don't think people in their 60s, 70s, and above think about what they're going to lose or may lose under socialism. So I'm going to talk about that today. And it's not meant to scare you. It's things that could happen in the cities that we love and how we grew up and how we had our young adulthood and how we found our positions in life, in business, in families. I don't think a lot of people understand what socialism is, particularly the younger generations. And I get Gen Z and millennials, and I get all those people mixed up. So I don't have my list of the decades that they are. So I'm just going to say that people that were born in the 70s, I don't think they totally understand what socialism is. Here we go, ding, ding. So what I want to say is that's what we're going to discuss. And it's not about irritating anybody or fighting with them. I just want you to think about these things in the next few days and before the next elections come up for midterms, and how your life is now. I mean, we're in the middle of a government shutdown and there is no getting around it. The Democrats did that and they continue to do that regardless. I think they feel they could actually get rid of Trump. I don't know. What they're doing is ruining people's lives. Okay, I can already see we've lost our Medicare insurance starting January 1st. So we have to get new. We have to get new all the time on these different things. What are people doing that have no income? no income. I mean, they should have some Social Security, but maybe some of you out there didn't ever pay into Social Security, like a widow who was married to a man and she was a stay-at-home mom and never filed for Social Security to pay into it. I don't know what these people are going to do, but here we go. I want you to think about the loss of economic independence. One of the first things people lose under socialism is economic autonomy, the ability to decide how you earn, how much you keep, and how you spend. Let me dig a little deeper into this one. Under socialism, the government steps into the role of primary economic director. It may decide wages, it may control the flow of goods, it may own or heavily regulate businesses. Okay, well, step back from that comment right now that I just told you. Think about Mondami in New York City, what he has sworn to do. He will get rid of rent or lower it so there's no rent control. He will confiscate buildings from people who have been landlords of these buildings and rented the apartments out. I'm not talking about how much they are now or price control in every position that we'll be speaking about. I'm talking about in the apartments. And somebody said, well, these buildings, these high-rise apartments will become looking like Russia in the different Stalingrad. I don't even know if those are the names of the cities in Russia anymore. Moscow. Rows and rows of apartments, and the government runs them. They may be nice or they may be falling apart. Well, some people say that the landlords in New York City need to clean up their act and keep the apartments looking nice and clean and with reasonable rent. So maybe some kind of rent control might be good, but you don't want the role of government in New York City to totally take those apartments away from the owners and give them to the state. Who's the state? Mondami. Has he got his fingers in there? He comes from an absolutely very fortunate, I guess, wealthy family. I don't know anything about his family, and I'm going to be studying that over the weekend. I want to know more about this man. Well, the other thing he's going to try to control is free buses, so you can get on them and go wherever you want to go. I don't know if he'll let people sleep on them. I don't know what he's going to do with them. I don't know who's going to drive them. I don't know if he's doing the same to the subways. Those are already owned by New York City, I believe. What exactly is he going to do with public transportation? If you don't pay for it, who's going to pay for it? Well, I'm coming up to who's going to be paying for things. Just bear with me for a little bit. What about free food? Taking over the grocery stores. The government will take over the grocery stores. And that includes your little bodega on the corner that you went to when you were little, and you'd go get the tortillas or the loaf of bread or the whatever you're getting for the Chinese district of wonton skins, maybe in New York. New York City is a very diverse city. It's a wonderful city. It's the economic center of the world. I see no reason to take over the grocery stores. Hasn't he looked into it? The margin on groceries, if you own a grocery store, it's like 2 to 3%. That's the margin. That's the money you make, 2 to 3%. This guy is just spewing everything that is communistic. Go read something by Marx. That's what he's doing. He's quoting Marx. What about the guy who has built his business by opening one little bodega and then expanded it into multiple large grocery stores? They're going to take his business away from his family. This is not right. This is what socialism, and more than socialism, this is what communism is about. I, for one, used to love to go to New York. I've spent a lot of time in New York. I did business in New York City, and I've been there many times. I loved it. I love to go to the museums. They have some of the finest museums and library and cathedrals and architecture, the new architecture and the old architecture, the people walking down the street that is bustling and enjoying the mingling with everybody. What's going to happen? Because I honestly don't think that people are going to stay in New York with this. What about Wall Street? You know, after 9/11, some of the firms moved out. Excuse me. I would think that we might see a huge exodus of financial companies moving out of New York. Now, that's me. I haven't heard anything about it on the news or anything else. I'm just saying, I'm not sure people want to be working in New York with what is going on. So there is where the government under socialism steps into the role of primary economic director, or I would say dictator. It may decide wages. Maybe you can't do anymore. It may control the flow of goods, of course, because of the manufacturing and the taxes. It may own or heavily regulate businesses. Well, okay, we're already seeing, President Trump said no tax on tips. So now what's happening is they're raising all the prices because you still have to pay taxes on your wages. And that's what Mondavi wants to tap into also. Have the government regulate those wage numbers. This is going to really have an impact on people who want to start their own small business. It may decide what wages you can ask for, pay the people, the flow of goods, because now this little bodega that carries this brand of bread or cookies, what have you, or brings things in from Mexico, which that may be being affected by the tariffs right now. Those things will go up in price or disappear altogether. So this needs to be thought out more. And yes, I'm quite aware that it was President Trump that put the tariffs on, but I think he's working to make it all better for the general population. We'll see what happens. The courts are looking at the tariffs right now. I think tariffs are a good thing. We've been paying tariffs for years and years and years in this country. And every time you buy something from Amazon and the label in it, this cute little dress you're buying, or these great shirts for men, there's a tariff on it and there's a tax on it. So it says made in China, made in Vietnam. We pay tariffs on all those things. We're paying extremely high tariffs on cars that were made in Japan, Toyota, and all of those. For years, we were paying those things until some companies brought people over here and opened their plants. And now that started a problem too. I don't think government is easy. I don't think there are people we've elected have every answer. I think everybody should discuss these things and vote for people that are more in alignment with you. I think a lot of people stayed home in this last election, although they do say that there was a larger turnout in some areas than have ever been. So I'm not telling you the answer. I'm just telling you the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. So if you want to go start your own business today, to build it for your future and to pass on to your children, I think it's going to become very, very difficult. Now, I had my own business. I'm married to a man who was CEO and president of publicly traded companies, and that's probably going to be controlled by a lot of people. And these are venture capital groups that buy the companies, and then there's going to be more regulations on that. And okay, now I'm totally the opposite. I had my own company. I had a publishing company. And my children didn't want to be in the publishing company. They had different careers. My son was in the entertainment industry, behind the scenes. And my daughter is a registered nurse with a bunch of other letters behind her name that I get confused. But she's a great student and she's a great person. And she found an industry that she really liked, helping others. So I didn't need to worry about passing on my business to anybody else. And when it got to be burdensome with my second husband, who shared ownership with it, I was smart enough to get 50-50%. I wanted 51 to get more money, but I couldn't manage it. So I settled for 50-50 when we did the papers. And it was very lucrative, but there was nobody in the family that I would have passed it on to. So I sold it quite a while ago. But if you have your own company under socialism, the government will still tell you how to run it, what you can charge for things, what you can buy things for, what you can pay people. It's really not your own. So don't count on that to be something to pass on to your children. That bodega owner that I'm talking about, he or she thought that they were building an empire for their children, and they very well could have, but now it will be taken away from the family, and the government will control our food in New York City. Because not only is he going to control the grocery stores, he's going to say who can bring the food into New York and what they can charge the bodega owner, whom in turn will be told what to charge the consumer. Socialism for everybody. That's really great. Everything's free. It is not free. You are paying for it. You are being stripped of your money and your ideas. Retirement accounts. We'll go back to saving money. When this starts happening and people are losing the ability to control their own businesses or work for a company that can control their business and keep it growing, it's a very bad thing. When this starts happening, you're going to see our economy going down, down, down. Because New York City is the financial center of the world, it is going to impact you and your savings and your retirement accounts. They'll lose value. They'll be taxed heavier. There won't be any innovation because you'll be taxed too much to innovate, to create anything. You won't even be allowed to. There are going to be fewer choices of housing. Don't think that these wealthy millionaires are going to be living in the 14th floor, the 20th floor of these high-rise, beautiful buildings with these beautiful things, because it's the millionaires, the bazillionaires that socialism wants to go after and take. They're fleeing to the point where Governor DeSantis is not kidding. He's saying, please don't come to Florida. We've already had an exodus from New York going to Florida and from other states, from California because of people like Newsom, who makes me so angry. They passed Proposition 50. So what that has done is he can once again, after he redraws the lines for the districts, he thinks he's leaning towards socialism. He thinks he's a good guy, but he's not. He is, I have no other way to say it, except he's a dummy. He comes from a wealthy family. He says he doesn't, but he's lying. He has a lot of money. He's not a nice man. He's arrogant. I told you when I saw him on the news, when he had his sleeves rolled up and his coat hung over his shoulder, grinning like this, like a Cheshire cat, walking into the Oval Office when President Trump wasn't even around. And he built the railroad, the tram, whatever you want to call it, to nowhere. It stops. It hasn't even been started properly. And you paid for it in California with your taxes. And the taxes on gasoline in California, we have a lot of oil in California, on and offshore. And let me tell you something. They talk about gas prices going down in the Midwest, in the East to $2 and some cents. All the while, what we're paying in California is over $5 a gallon for premium. Over $5. Well, it started coming down since Trump has been in office. President Trump has been in office. But this is a problem. When you have people like Newsom, who hasn't said he's a socialist or a communist, he just says he's a good Democrat. He wants to be president. And he's coming right out and saying so. And then you have people like Kamala, which can't even answer things. It's a joke. And underneath it all is socialism, because these guys in Congress and all want to be wealthy and have nobody else wealthy. Have you noticed something since this government turned down? And now I'm talking to the Republicans and the Democrats. My brother was an air traffic controller at one time, and he and I have discussed the crowded skies. You know, when I started flying when I was a baby and I got on a DC-6 and I flew with my mother back to Indianapolis to see my grandma, we were treated like royalty. They let us sleep in the crew bunks on the way. That was so much fun. I guess that's where my love of flying came in. But this crowded sky business and not paying the air traffic controllers and expecting them to go to work is nonsense. Many of them have just walked out and they've gotten what little jobs they can get, maybe at a Starbucks, at a grocery store, at a gas station. Oh, I forgot we don't pump gas anymore. In some place like that, who knows, they might be able to do some construction or something just to try to feed their family. The others are standing in line for food. Now, do you want a man or a woman who is an air traffic controller to be so stressed out because they're not getting any checks to pay their bills, their rent, their mortgage, their grocery stores, and their little kids' tummies? Do you want them to be directing the traffic in the crowded skies when their brain is going somewhere else? They're so stressed out and not knowing what to do. I'm sorry, but I think even the Republicans should shut down all air travel right now. This is going to be very disastrous with a horrible accident if they don't. I heard today that they are closing down, delaying and canceling many flights. You can see it on television. They'll tell you what it is. And I'm just going to walk over here because it's a heavy news day and I see breaking news. But if they don't shut this down, there's going to be a horrible, horrible, they're just talking about economic news, financial news, saying everything's better, the stock market, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they know something I don't know. I don't know why the stock market goes up when everything is just crazy and nobody's getting paid. So what I started to say to you is these people who are looking out for us, air traffic controllers, police, National Guard, some of the people in the Army, they're not getting paid. But you know who is getting paid? And I'm saying this to Republicans and Democrats and independents, wherever you're sitting in the Senate or the House of Representatives, cut your paychecks off now. It is not fair. We don't have to cut off President Trump's income because President Trump is the first president and only president who has donated his entire salary being president back to the government or building something for the White House, building this, building that, taking care of the government. I've never seen a more generous man who doesn't talk about what he does. It's just now starting to come out all through his life when he was in construction with his father and beyond. He has helped people. Sometimes I'd like to smack you guys who think he's a bad guy. Smack you like this. Okay. Enough of that. I'm not going to go look at the stock market, but apparently it's gaining. I don't know. I don't know. Why would you vote for socialism when the stock market's going up? Why would the stock market go up when the first social Democrat is in Democrat, excuse me. That's what he calls himself. I call him a communist. Why would you invest? I don't get it. Okay. You know, economic freedom, where you can go buy food for yourself. You don't have to be on SNAP. Economic freedom gives you so many things to do what you want to do and all, but the most important thing is it gives you dignity. These homeless people that are walking around and asking for food or asking for a few dollars to go into a McDonald's, they don't like that. Maybe they never had the education. Maybe they were using needles and drugs and they'd like to get off of them. We should have dealt more with the drug problem, which has ruined so many lives, killed so many people. We should have dealt with it before, way back when Nancy Reagan was in the White House with her husband, President Ronald Reagan. And her idea of dealing with the drugs was, just say no. Give me a break. We should have not closed all of the mental hospitals in California either and put them on the street. And that's another Reagan area. I'm starting to sound like a Democrat. If anything, I would lean more towards being an independent, but I'm not. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Republican conservative person, so bear with me. But I am starting to get pretty upset, not with Trump and his administration. I'm just getting fed up with what's happening in the United States and so many people being ignorant and just getting out on the streets and yelling and screaming, no king, no king. Nobody's trying to be a king. Who'd want that responsibility? So instead of promoting yourself and trying to rise above and helping your family, socialism doesn't tout the benefits of being an entrepreneur or working for a company where you can excel and rise through the ranks to president of the corporation. You can't do that because they will take it away. They'll take it away from the company. Maybe they'll just say the company needs to be disbanded or it needs to operate this way. That's communism. They're also taking away your freedom. And this I've been preaching on the show off and on how in Russia, you can't send your kids to the school you want to send them to, okay? The government looks at you. If you want to be a ballerina, you have to start at a very young age, and they have to tell you your child is a wonderful dancer and gymnast, and she can go or he can go to become an Olympic champion gymnast or ballerina. Now, there's a wonderful movie you should watch. It's called The Black Swan, and it delves into this. I saw it many years ago. It explains in a rather harsh way how the communists trick you into having your child and then your teenager and then your young adult be controlled for their career, their schooling, and their career. Go watch it. I was going to say rent it, but no. Look for it on Netflix or some old movie channel or something. Don't get me started on the streaming business and Spectrum and all of that. Drives me nuts. So that's why I want you to think about that. Just let me choose. Oh, then, of course, look at our health care. We're losing our health care, Medicare. Most of the country's on Medicare. Private insurance went away a long time ago. This I understand, and I haven't verified it yet because I don't want to just take hearsay. I want to know exactly why we have to get new Medicare insurance and why all of this has failed. I do know when Obama went to Obamacare, they couldn't even get their computers up and running when it first started. So maybe it goes back to that. I don't know. But you no longer can really choose your own doctor. You have to get an okay from the insurance company. You have to get schools okayed by the communist leaders. You have to work at a place where the communists tell you to work. You might have to live in one of those high-rise apartments in New York and be relocated from some other place. Who knows? You can't even go out and buy what you want to buy anymore. Now, I don't know how they were getting black market Levi's in Russia, but they were, and they sure like those. I don't know what happened to that program. Private property is restricted or removed, and that's exactly what Nabi said is going to be one of the first things he does today. Well, I hope you don't go home and start looking at your portfolio and find out all your rental homes or rental apartments are no longer yours. It doesn't always mean they take your house. It means ownership can become conditional on certain things that you do. So we're going to have to delve into that a little more if we're going to study socialism anymore. Without competition and people starting their own businesses, the quality and the choice disappears. But that's what socialism and communism is all about, getting rid of the individual and the individual thinking and creating. And then all of a sudden you start losing your community and your faith and your identity, because look back in history and see how many times these people have gotten rid of churches or mosques or temples. And now I'm talking about all the time in history. Go back to the Crusades. That was supposed to be Christian. What kind of Christianity goes around killing people? You have to study history in order to know how you want your country, your nation, your life to be run. Because communism and socialism is not the way. Now, I'm going to tell you, when my husband and I lived in Michigan, because he was what I call a takeover artist, he'd go into companies that were private or public, and he would turn them around because maybe the previous team didn't know what they were doing well enough, and they were putting bad policies in view. And he had been very successful with his previous experiences being CEO and president and sitting on the board of companies and all. So he would do that, and we went to Michigan to turn around something he had no idea about, auto parts. My husband doesn't even drive. He hates to drive. So ever since I met him, I've driven him everywhere. But I had a friend in high school, a male friend up the street from me, who was one of my best buddies, and he taught me how to gap the plugs. I'm not going to tell you what that means. You figure it out. I was good at it too. I think most people don't even know what plugs are anymore. Well, you also lose a lot of culture because now you can no longer write what you want. It has to be approved by the government. You can't sing what you want. You can't go out to a party at night and play the music you want. You lose your faith, you use your community, and you lose your own identity. Because what are you now? You can't choose your own friends very readily because you don't know if that person's going to turn on you and tell everybody that you're not obeying the rules. This is deep communism. The next thing you know, you're going to be standing against the wall and you're going to be shot. I'm not kidding you. How many countries around the world have gone like this? What do you think's going on in Ukraine now with Russia? Russia and Ukraine, the war. Putin says this. Zelensky says that. This comes from socialism, communism, and the desire for freedom. People, wake up. Now I've talked to you about all these different things. I'm not saying we're going to become a communist country because one city elected one and he denies he's a communist, but just watch what happens. I'm not telling you that this is the downfall of the United States because I was born in the USA. I love the USA. And some of my friends weren't born in the USA, and I love my friends. My husband wasn't born in the USA. He was born in Italy. My other friends were born in Mexico. I love my friends. Some were born in Spain. Some were born in South Korea. I have a very good friend of my son's who's always been a friend of mine, but so supportive of me since I lost my son. He's in South Korea, and we communicate on a regular basis. I love my friends. I don't want to lose my friends, and that's why I don't want somebody telling me how I can pray, what I can eat, what I can buy, what I can own, how many children I can have. By the way, China's in big, deep poo-poo because they don't have enough men. Okay, so that's it for today. It's not a prophecy. It's a reminder to get out your books, get on the internet, start studying and learn what these different socialism, communism, democracies, a republic, learn what they are, all right? Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to quit just a tiny bit early because I have an appointment I have to get to. But I want to tell you, I'm very grateful for you listening to me and going on to YouTube and any of the other platforms where we have reruns. And stay tuned because I'm coming out with my newsletter. It's going to be called Let's Live, over my what I call natural health, integrative health, all of the different kind of ways to take care of your body. It was called Let's Live, and it had a circulation of 1,000,007. It was the biggest health magazine in our country and internationally. So we're going to have a newsletter And I'm so excited about it because I love to write and I love to educate people on alternative ways to take care of yourself and stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Okay, tune in to JudithManciniToday.com Thursdays at 9 a.m. And you can listen, it's scrolling around the bottom. We're also going to talk about LifeWave, my latest discovery that I'm so thrilled about. I just want to share it with all of you. So remember this. Thank you for tuning in today, and cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you.